are in listen-only mode.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us for our webinar tonight. I'm Robert Linville, and I appreciate everybody checking in. Hopefully everybody can hear this okay. So we'll move through and try to give you some information and show you what we do and how we use some of the technology, especially TrackMan, obviously, right here. With TrackMan, how we use that to assess a person's game. There's one of the top coaches. She was a top Swedish coach in golf and really developed their program, Pia Nilsson. And in a seminar, good gracious, 20 years ago or more, I heard her speak, and she said, golf is one of the only sports where the coach never sees the player play. And that really hit home, because a lot of our teaching, you know, we're with you for an hour and then work on things, and then you go play, and then you tell us how you played, and we try to work on things. So with the ability of this technology, we're able to arrive at finding some strengths and observing some weaknesses so we can improve on these. So this past week, down at Daytona Beach, there I am with Catherine Perry. She was at the LPGA qualifying school, and she played really well, made the cut. Unfortunately, did not get her LPGA card, but did get her Symetra Tour card. So we're really proud of Catherine and look forward to her future. And I was able to watch her actually for all 5 rounds. So every round I would go through keeping my stats, and we were able to kind of watch, as Pia Nilsson would say. I did get to observe a player play. I coached in college for 13 years, and obviously in that you get to observe your players play a lot. So you're able to take that information, and with that information you can then begin to know, this is what I need to work on. So one of the things that is real key is understanding the statistical part of golf. And Dr. Mark Brody has developed a book, Every Shot Counts. And he spent years of research. Let's see if I had this picture up here. But Dr. Mark Brody spent a lot of time. He actually came up with a stat for the tour, and instead of putts, where you just count how many putts, it was strokes gained putting. And he turned that into every shot. So in other words, we're able to measure every shot. So I'm going to just give you one example here of how a scratch player would, we would measure a scratch player. And you can do this with any handicap. If you shot 85, we would go, okay, for an 85 shooter, here's your scoring average. For this one, just to make it simple, I'm just going to use par. But we can certainly use any scoring average to determine where each individual is gaining or losing shots. So in this example, we've got a 400-yard par 4, and like I said, the player's a scratch golfer. The player hits a tee shot, so it starts out, obviously, that the scoring average is 4.0. They hit their drive right in the fairway, 260 yards, which leaves them 140 yards. The average number of shots a scratch player would take from there is 2.9. So they gained 1/10 of a shot on that drive. If they did that for 14 drives, they would gain 1 point, whatever that would be, 7. or 1.4 shots with their driver or tee shot. And then we go to approach shot. The player, I don't want to get real bogged down into the math, so I'm just trying to keep it real simple. Don't worry about this part, but I'll show you how it ties in with our combine and how we use our TrackMan. So the second shot, this player from 140 yards hits their shot to 15 feet. From 15 feet, a scratch player's scoring average is about 1.7. Or in other words, they got about a 30% chance of making it. So maybe a little bit less, but we'll say 1.7 here. So they gained 0.2 of a stroke on the approach shot. So in other words, if on this particular hole, the player's full swing has gained 0.3 of a stroke. So let's say a player is really good from that 140-yard range. You know, over time, with a series of shots, we could go, okay, from 140 yards, this player's really good. Or their approach shots are really good. We don't need to worry about this. In general, a player's approach shots are the ones that differentiate different levels of play. So like the difference between somebody that average 85 and 75 is typically in their approach shots more than anything else. Maybe a little bit with the driver, but more with the approach shots. And then with putting, if they made this particular putt, they would gain 0.7 of a stroke putting. If they miss, they lose 0.3 of a stroke. So every shot a player makes is scored, and you can do this. It sounds at first a little complicated, and it's actually much easier than normal stats. But it's just, you just calculate a shot. I mean, you go from this particular place, players of my ability, 150 yards, hit the green half the time. And so, you can calculate from there, like where did you hit it? And what's your scoring average from your next shot? So it's a real easy way, and it's the best way I've ever seen to really identify how a player really plays. Well, that's the ideal situation. And, just a quick recap of how Catherine did. So she played really well, and for the week, she gained almost 6 shots with her driver and approach shots for all 5 rounds. Under the most nerve-wracking conditions, she just played beautifully. Unfortunately, the short game let her down a little bit, and her putter let her down a little bit, so we gave some shots back. So she finished just over par for the week, and we'll have full-time status on the Symetra Tour next year. So, we've got a lot to be excited about, because the things that like I said, differentiate levels of golfers are mainly the driver and approach shots. Everybody wants to think it's putting, and sometimes the putter will let you down, and it shows up. It's obviously the last shot you hit, so it tends to feel like it carries more weight, but they're all measured. Every shot we hit's measured. So let's go to, in a case, let's just take a look at a shot and that we would use and what we would be looking for. Now here's a really good shot, and we talked about this last time. Some of you were here, and some of you weren't. So here's just how we look at our TrackMan. And at any point, if anybody's got questions, if you'll just type them in, I'll try to take a look at them, and I can come back to stuff. I went through that example really fast because, again, I don't want to get bogged down in the math as much as I want to show you another way how we can identify strengths and weaknesses in a player's game. And with the most weight that we feel like, and Mark Brody's studies have substantiated this, that the approach shots carry the most weight. So the combine is a great way for us to get some information, and I'm going to go over that in just a couple minutes. But here's just a general, I'm pretty sure this was Catherine, with a swing here. And you can see we've got a lot of different data points that we can look at. It's actually more than this. These are the ones we have up here. The key is we'll take a look at, all right, what do we want to lock in on? What's our most important areas to be concerned with? What helps us hit this ball like this particular shot? Start straight, go straight, end straight. That's all. That's Catherine's motto, hit it straight. So anyway, we go, what's our attack angle here? I know last time we talked with Mike, I had Mike Goodis stuff up here, and I just had a lesson with him, and I kind of went over his. So in this case, we would want the attack angle in this range. The attack angle typically, for most amateurs, is going to be a little too steep. The attack angle has a lot to do with the swing plane we're on, which is a number over here, the swing direction. These are all calculations made by the launch monitor, or TrackMan, observing the club coming into impact and then the ball leaving, and then it measures the ball and tracks the ball. Again, TrackMan, tracking the ball. So what we've got an attack angle of a certain amount, which is, this is right where, in our range we're looking for. We've got a club path, always staying a little bit to the right of the target, and then the face, in this case, offset that. We had a straight shot here. That's what this is telling us, is we had a straight shot. So we're able to get all of this information on each and every swing. Now, not that we need it for all swings, because usually what we're looking for are what are the patterns. And well, let's say in this particular case, we know that, I've certainly spent enough time with her, so I know that if Catherine hits a ball left, that she is not going to swing left. She's going to close the club face. So why does that happen? One of the things we work on, we're actually trying to get the hands more left, or the handle more left, to help offset this. In this case, obviously, it was really good here. Face to path was 3.4 left, which offset this, but the face was actually, just dead straight. So it's just a little draw swing here. This probably would have drawn a little bit, probably had a little bit of left to right width. So we're able to get all this information, which helps us go, okay, these are the things we're going to work on. But as we go through, we want to know, okay, I don't get to see you play. How do we create an example of on-course experience without actually being on the course? So before I go off of this page, I had a question. Again, not to get too bogged down, but what is attack angle? Attack angle is actually the height, the vertical height that the club comes into the ball in. So the club, if we take this club right here, and here's the ball, and it's coming actually from this direction, the club comes into the ball on a certain height above the ball, and then there's a low point with an iron typically in front of the ball, the low point of the swing. So with this angle that the club is coming into the ball on, same thing here, is coming into the ball on, it shows, or it measures what this attack angle is. With higher speed, you'll typically get a higher attack angle, which relates to also a correlation to the path. But what we don't want is a lower speed with a high attack angle, because that typically will mean that we're a little too steep and probably too narrow in the swing, and also it will decrease the carry of the ball. So all of these are not like everybody should be at X. It's each individual person. We determine this is a great place for you to be. So these are the numbers we're searching for. And then, again, like I said, one of the things we're looking for is patterns, not the outlier, but the pattern. So when we see a pattern, we're going, okay, we know when you hit this shot different than normal, this is what shows up that's different. Face, or your path starts doing something weird. Typically the path is fairly consistent. This can adjust a little bit. The face is the most, it has the most change in it of all these things. Face angle changes the most. So some of that has to do with just the situation, the comfort level you have, or in this case, we're just standing here hitting balls on a range and it still can't be consistent. So we have to try to figure out what causes the inconsistency. So let's move on. We can come back to this, but let's move on a little bit and go back to this page. So how do we use this type of information? The Dr. Mark Brody type way to look at stats. Like, how do we measure? When I was coaching, I stopped coaching in 2006 and actually did everything by hand on an Excel sheet. I would have the players, and we wouldn't do this for every tournament round because it would really be too time consuming, but on a lot of practice rounds and the occasional tournament round, I just have them fill out, like, you hit it, your tee shot, and it went somewhere. Where did it go? And then from there, you hit it somewhere, and where did it go? If you were 150 yards, you hit a club, and it went somewhere. Where did it end up? I didn't have it near as easy to figure out as this, actually, but it was the same type concept in that every shot matters. Every shot we can score. And we can then figure out the patterns that allow us to get better. So with that, they're pretty much, we just break them down into general areas. You can certainly do, you can break it much more specific, but this really gets us into a ballpark. So what are the most important areas that will help most players improve? And of these areas, we've got driver, fairway woods, approach shots, and unfortunately for some of you, your approach shots are your fairway woods. But again, that's scored a different way. So driver, fairway woods, approach shots, short game, bunker play, and putting. The areas that we found that differentiate the levels are mainly driver and approach shots, with the most weight being given to approach shots. Now that's over a lot of studies. Mine just being observation, Dr. Mark Brody being actually taking stats for, I don't have the book in front of me, but I believe it was 11 years, but I'm not positive on that. But he took them from the PGA Tour, and then he started using them for every handicap level. But he started with the PGA Tour because they have ShotLink, which measures every shot. And then he was able to calculate against the field. So he didn't do it against par, he did it against the field. And what he came up with was overall, the most important factor was the approach shots. But, obviously Putting is obviously huge. Driving is obviously huge. Short game is obviously huge. But the one that slightly had more weight than the others was the approach shots. The title of his book, Every Shot Counts. It just came out last year, it's great, but I've recommended it to a lot of people. You see a lot of tour people, tour players I see tweet him, because I follow him on Twitter, and they'll send him a tweet, best book I've read, most important. And some people it would just be, to me, numbers, I don't care. And, that's the job of the coach anyhow. But again, if we can't see you play, how do we find some of this stuff out? So let's go to how we could determine some of this information. This is one of our instructors, Drew Yantz, who did, his handicap's 36, let's hope not. Drew had a fabulous high school and collegiate career, and joined us this year, and he's doing a great job. He sets up all our combine sessions, and we have a combination. You saw on the Facebook where we're doing a combination where you can do a combo, combine and on-course learning. So it was a fairly cold day, especially when I just got back and it was 75. Now I'm here and it's 40 degrees and rainy. Welcome back. So anyway, the combine gives you yardages, and you hit 6 shots from these yardages. You can see one is a drive. You hit 6 shots from all these yardages, and it gives you a score. Now, this score is a TrackMan score, and it is just their proprietary information of how they calculate the score. But it's very accurate in determining a lot of factors that we would be able to see watching a player play. So a combine session consists of you coming in and hitting shots to these yardages with whatever club you choose, given whatever factor that day was like. And in some cases, the drive may be this 180, and then you hit another one. So, it just depends on where your yardages are, how far you can hit the ball. But you would hit these yardages. And what the college coaches have done a lot, and a good friend of mine uses it quite a bit, and they take this information, do a combine, they do a few of those, and then they take it and they narrow it down to like an 18-shot test instead of a 60-shot test. Obviously, they got a lot of players. They want to keep them moving. And it just gives you different yardages where you basically hit one shot. But the same kind of theory involved is how do you do with each yardage, and how do we calculate it? So you would hit shots from the different yardages, and you pick out a direction, and then you hit it a certain yardage. So in this case, we'll go over how we would evaluate Drew's score on this particular day. So you can see the higher the score in this line, the better he did for that particular category. And the lower the score, then we've got some things to work on maybe. So if we look at it, what this part over here is easier to see on this one at 180 yards. But these circles represent that shot dispersion for that particular yardage. I called this until recently, and maybe I'll still call it that, but I always called it the law of the average shot. And what that means to me, and this is why I would coach, was if your average shot from 100 yards, we'll use 100, and we can see Drew was 22 feet from the pin. So 7 yards, 7 steps. So if the pin was cut 5 yards onto the green, we would not want Drew to aim at the pin. We would want to aim 2 yards towards the center of the green, at least, to give a little bit of room for error, because this law of the average shot says you're going to hit it on an average 22 feet from the pin. Now there's 6 shots. Obviously, if we had 600, it would give us more accurate data. But this gives us a real good information and a good starting point to go, okay, where's our problems? Where are we good? Another thing it does is it allows us to go, okay, either a par 5 or a par 4 that you've had some trouble, you've got to get the ball back in play. What's a good layup yardage? So real quickly, we could look here and go 12 feet, pretty good, 7 feet, good, 20 feet, not so good. So we would go, all right, let's try to get in this 70, 60, 70 range, laying up 80. We must be in between clubs, not so good, 90. So we got to stay away from this range if we can get in this range. Everybody's got their favorite type yardage, and then we get to, yardages that really give us problems. We also do, and this is not anything to do with TrackMan, but we do, we in the past have done a handicap scoring with short game and with putting. So what we'll probably try to do is develop a system where we can integrate all of that. So we can go, how good are you from 30 yards? How good are you from just off the green in the rough and just off the green, easy shot, a high short game shot? Obviously, we can't do all that with TrackMan because it wouldn't pick up all those different shots. But since we give more weight to the approach shots than anything else, this gives us a lot of data. So again, we go over all these shots. You hit 60 shots. You got 10 target yardages, and you hit 6 with each, and it gives you an average. And it doesn't throw any out, but you can see, if you look over here, you can see, ooh, that was just an outlier. So with an outlier, we can throw it out. We can go, okay. So not only does it give us an average, but then we can take the average and we can go over here and we go, all right. And again, we look for patterns. My teaching philosophy is based on find patterns, figure out patterns, and figure out answers to these patterns. So again, we look and we go, 12 feet, and then got really good. So these are good. 20 feet, not so great from here. They're all kind of okay. 24 feet. And we go down and we go, whoa, 50 feet from 160 yards. Now, for some players, obviously that would be pretty good. But for Drew, who's a plus, probably a +2, a professional golfer, and that from 160 yards, you're going, we got 21, 23, 22, everything's kind of in, nothing really going wacky here. And then all of a sudden, we've got one here that just 38 feet, whoops, 58 feet. Let me go back. Here we go. Hit the wrong button. 58 feet, 43 feet, 56, 50. We got a problem right here. So whatever club this is, and again, 50-degree day, and the wind was blowing pretty hard, I guess, but still, you go to 180 yards, and he's fine. And again, you can look at the scores here and go, here's some problems. But this one really stands out. So it would be easy. The first thing that comes to my mind is we got a golf club problem here. Shaft is different. The lie is different. The loft is different. Something is different here. So that would be the first thing we would look at. Now, we can determine that we don't have a golf club problem. Then obviously we've got a swing problem from this particular yardage and this area. So, you know, what's happening here? You know, is it in between clubs? Are you trying to hit it too hard? Are you trying to hit it too easy? Are you not just, is this just a bad yardage? But really the thing that would stand out to me is we got something to check out here, because it just doesn't make any sense, and there's a distinct pattern of these shots. So you take that and you go, okay, here's a weak area. We've got to get better, because this is very crucial in, you know, an average or a good player, but even an average golfer. This yardage right here is crucial, because you're going to have between, you know, your approach shots are going to be a lot between 140 and 180. You know, that's your zone. So we look pretty good here. And 23 feet from 140 is good. 22 feet from 180 is excellent. 49 feet, you've got problems. So again, we're going to look and try to figure out. They're all short of the target on the dispersion pattern. On the 160. Yeah, it could have been mishitting. You know, I wasn't here observing them, but I'm just looking at the data. And obviously, if you're sitting here looking at it, it kind of, I mean, watching a player too, it would make a difference. But yeah, you're looking at this and you're going, wow, they're just not very solid at all. So again, we could have been in between clubs, you know, in trying to take the shorter club and hit it hard and wasn't hitting it solid. But this area certainly was a problem and an area of concern that we would identify without, you know, being able to go watch you play, you know, rounds of golf. And, you know, we can certainly learn a lot from one 9-hole session, but, you know, just like this, it takes more data to really get us to identify some weaknesses. Some of them just stand out immediately. You know, when we watch somebody play or go play with somebody for a playing lesson, and you can pick up some where they're losing shots really quickly. And sometimes it takes a little while. But in general, you know, we're able to really pick up the patterns. So that's how, you know, we would use a combine, and the session that goes with the combine, we would use this information to go, okay, you're really good. Just to give you an idea, like, I know it's different because we're just sitting in a studio hitting shots. You're not out on a course with different lies. But the PGA Tour average distance to the hole, so it wouldn't count this one. You can see Drew's plenty long. But the distance to the hole, the tour average is about 28 feet. I mean, anything under 30 feet is really good on an average. So, you know, one thing, if you want to go work on your putting, typically if you're, you know, an okay ball striker, you're going to have a lot of 30 and 40 footers. And if you're a poor ball striker, you're going to have a lot of chips, and you're going to have a lot of 10 and 15 footers. But if you practice your putting from 40 feet and 5 feet, those are the distances that would typically really help you if you were just going to spend some time working on two distances. Work on 5 feet, work on 40 feet. Let's see, I'm reading a question. I'm trying to read a question. Have you found that the TrackMan can help the higher handicap player as well as the low handicap player? It's a great question. You know, when we got TrackMan, we also have Flight Scope, which is virtually the same type of information. That we use that at our Bermuda studio a lot, especially in the winter, because it's an indoor studio, and this is the one at Bryant Park is more involved in the learning center, but it's where we open the doors and head out, so it can get a little cooler. But when we got TrackMan, we were thinking, you know, TrackMan is really going to help us with the elite player. And we teach a lot of really good players. Talk about Catherine. We teach a lot of good players. So this information helps us with those players, and we knew it would. What I didn't know was, would it help us with an average player? And the information that we've gathered so far is overwhelmingly yes, because we use video, obviously, and you can see it, but the numbers, basically the TrackMan is like an MRI and the video is like an X-ray. So the numbers can verify or help us, guide us even farther along on what we think we're seeing with the video. And the combination of knowing that information and identifying these patterns, and typically it doesn't take very many swings, is okay, now we can go, this is the stuff we need to work on. So again, we go back to like this, and we see swings. I don't know if I got somebody else on this particular one or not. Probably not. Well, here's one. This is somebody different. So in this case, we had an attack angle of not very, you know, so low speed. I have no idea who this is, so it doesn't matter. We have a low attack angle, which kind of matches the speed, but then we got a path going way out. In this case, it would be going way out, like to the left, but they're a left-handed golfer. You can see right here. So the other thing is we can use this right-handed or left-handed. And so the path is swinging way from inside to out. And then the face is just pointed out kind of down the line, a little bit to the right. So we got a big hook in this case. If this was right-handed, it'd be a big slice. It'd be kind of the same type numbers here. So, you know, we can see the path is the thing we got to fix. We got to fix this number. And then how do we go about that? So an average golfer, in this case, we're seeing this path going way out here. So could it be in the setup? Could it be in ball position? Could it be in, we're trying to force the swing way too far out? A multitude of things it could be, but this would head us in the direction of, okay, now let's put you in position so that we can get this number heading closer to 0 instead of so far out to the left. So that's kind of how we use the combine, and in general, this is how we would use TrackMan. We got several swings on here that, you know, again, I don't know whose these were. I had Catherine's at one swing, but I don't know whose these are. So they're just general swings. But again, we got path, we got attack. Here's a face wide open. So, you know, ball didn't go anywhere. At 81 miles an hour, it went nowhere. So not only is the face wide open, but they mishit it. So, you know, figuring out what causes that. Why are we doing these things? This helps us give information so that we can identify areas that we can improve. By attending this webinar, you do get $25 off a combine at the Bryan Park studio, where we have TrackMan set up. Like I said, Drew Yance, our boy that can't hit it from 160 yards. Drew's in charge of our combines, and so he would, you know, we take that, and even if you have a teacher, you're taking lessons from one of us, you know, Drew sets up the combine, and we get that information to you. It comes to you via email, and it goes to the teacher also. So with that, Does anybody else have any questions about one of the ways we use TrackMan, or a couple of the ways we use TrackMan, and how we identify areas of strengths and areas of weaknesses? Well, when we're working with players and when you're coaching, it is always play to your strengths and improve your weaknesses. So, that's what we want to do. That's what we want to identify, is how do we play to our strengths and how do we identify weaknesses so that we can improve. So, let's see. Anybody else got any other questions before we sign off for the night? I don't see anything else. I certainly appreciate everybody taking time and being with us tonight, and I look forward to sharing with you at our next webinar. Thanks a lot.